The Bridon Arc opening theme is truly wonderful, but did you know that it's also a feast to the analytical thinkers, to the cryptography experts, to the literary scholars, and even to the language lovers? You will be amazed with the Easter eggs that these extraordinary types of fans have discovered from the opening theme. I'll be sharing what I have managed to compile, and we will begin with the part which gave the hints that we actually have something to hunt. So, after this scene of Xiafei inside the bus, we see another bus, but there's actually a message to the viewers on that bus. It says, "Look carefully. Afternoon tea." In other words, we as Linklicks audience are being asked to look carefully once we see afternoon tea later, which is on this scene with this beautiful lady. Did you notice something unusual? Well, in case you didn't, over here is actually a letter in code language. But how to read it? Well, it seems that the opening team had also given hints on how to do it. But let's first try to understand what these coded languages are and how they are decoded. To be honest, I'm not really knowledgeable about this code language. Although I love stuff related to the mystery genre, I'm actually terrible in decryption stuff. But fortunately, there are incredible LinkLink fans who not only recognize these codes, but can even decipher them. I wouldn't really have known much about this cipher stuff if it weren't for the fans, and I wouldn't have bothered to study about them if the LinkLink opening team didn't have such things. Oh, the things I do for LinkLink. Anyway, I'll share with you guys what I had understood. So, apparently, these encrypted messages can be decrypted using a cipher, which is a method to decode the message using substitution. So, it's like replacing a symbol with a letter from the English alphabet. There are different types of substitution. On this encrypted letter, LinkLink used a combination of two types of ciphers, the Pigpen cipher and the Caesar cipher. The Pigpen cipher uses letters of the alphabet to be replaced with fragments of a grid. It first uses a grid that looks like a tic-tac-toe or a hashtag symbol, then another set with the same type of grid, but with dots, then an X, and then another X with dots. There are letters assigned to them, and you replace the letters with the shapes around it. So, A is replaced with this, then B with this, but J will be like this, and Y will look like this. So, the encrypted version of Lu Kuang's name using Pigpen cipher should look like this. While for the Caesar cipher, a letter is replaced by another letter, but you need to know from which letter to start. So on this example, starting with D, A becomes D, B becomes E, and so on. So the encrypted version of Cheng Xiaoshi's name, if starting with D, would look like this. Now, back to the opening theme. There was actually a clue on how the encrypted letter from here can be read on this scene of Lu Kuang with Xiafei's poster. You also recognize these symbols on the right by now, right? Their corresponding alphabets are on the left side. Like this one is X, this one should be F, and so on. Okay, hopefully I explained them correctly. I just learned about them recently, you know. So, if you are familiar with ciphers and you think I misinterpreted something, I would appreciate positive criticism. And of course, if you want to share additional cryptography trivia, feel free to share about them in the comments. Anyway, going back, by the time I just heard about the existence of these types of encrypted messages, there are remarkable fans who had decrypted those secret codes very fast. eilko shared to us the decrypted letter with the afternoon tea using Pigpen cipher. But this doesn't make sense in English, right? So we have another decryption done here using the Caesar cipher. Some parts were cut because the source material's code were not fully shown either. So this is the most we can get from the portion that is visible in the letter. Now, let's see. It's hard to make sense of each line, but it's giving the impression that it's talking about a fire that is initiated by someone and there are people dying. Now the next part. Maybe this means to prevent such a tragedy from happening again, looks like some people had hired a detective to find the culprit, but they later find out that the culprit was someone they would never have expected. Then about the last part, seems that it means a certain someone concluded that all potential triggers of that tragedy should be prevented first. It's unclear to me whether the he over here is referring to the detective or the culprit. The fire might be referring to this burning building. There are theories about the woman being a detective, so that would somewhat explain why this encoded message is on a scene with her. But that last part sounded like it's referring to Lu Guang. Oh well, how about you? What is your interpretation? Now, let's move on to the next scene. There's actually another Pigpen Caesar cipher on the same room. Particularly, it's on this frame over here. Centofu has shared to us what it says. Apparently, it means there is more than one survivor in this disaster. Oh my gosh. Wait, I think this scene from the ending theme hinted that our mystery woman survived from that fire. Then this text meant there's another survivor like her? Who could it be? Oh, my head hurts. Hopefully, we don't need to wait for season 3 to get an explanation for this. Let's now move on to the next scene with Liu Xiao holding a book. What he is holding is the Sonnets by Shakespeare. It's the same book which he was reading in the Surprising Click promo video. It's also the same book which our heroes had been holding in some of the trailers too. It is interesting that this series used the Sonnets over all other Shakespeare works. You see, it's a collection of poems which cover themes such as time, mortality, love, beauty, infidelity, and jealousy. And the first 126 sonnets are addressed to a young man. Well, to be honest, I'm not really familiar with the sonnets, so I needed to look it up a bit. Apparently, the narrator has been praising the beauty of a certain young man a lot. It's like someone with unrequited love, but it's not about adoration all the time. Seems like emotions here become quite complex. I'm sure you would know better if you're familiar with Shakespeare's sonnets, or when you try to research about it too. I'm taking a break from trying to understand Shakespeare because poems give me headaches. Enough with the book. This time, let's check the place where Liu Xiao is. He seems to be in a library with those bookshelves, but there's actually something odd about the books behind him, particularly on this row. Notice that only this row contained books that are in black or white color, right? Apparently, thanks to amazing fans, they have realized that it's actually a message in Morse code. For those who are not familiar with Morse code, in simple terms, it's a communication method which encodes text characters as sequences of two different signal durations. For visual representation, they can be written as dots and dashes. But on this scene, they are presented as black and white books instead. The white books refer to the dots, while the black books refer to the dashes. Those in other colors are spaces or intervals. So for example, the first letter is presented with these books in black, white, white. It corresponds to dash dot dot in Morse code, so we get a D. If you put them together, it will form this sentence. Don't trust him. Ooh, but which him? There are two guys in this room. Could it be Liu Xiao? Or is it Lu Guang instead? Or is it to both of them? In my opinion, I think it's definitely referring to Liu Xiao. The creators had been hinting that in other ways already. He is super suspicious. And even if Lu Guang is a liar too, he is someone that can be trusted. Well, I trust him to always have good intentions at least. Anyway, the next scene shows the Big Ben, and the time is around 9. The lyrics of the opening theme song also mention about 9, so I started to wonder if there's some meaning behind this. Maybe not directly on the plot, but more on what it symbolizes. Let's see. Clocks serve as symbols of time, mortality, and the passage of life. Then I've read that this iconic clock tower represents the resilience of the British spirit and the promise of a brighter future. And then, the number 9 in numerology is apparently associated with spiritual growth, wisdom, and completion. Looks like it's also considered as a lucky number in Chinese because it connotes longevity, happiness, and good luck. Happiness in link click? Oh, how I wish for that. But maybe I'm just overthinking this part. By the way, on this moment wherein the trio seems to be hanging out inside the library, on Luke Wang's point of view, we see Luke Wang holding an open book. And once again, its contents are encrypted. It's quite difficult to notice because the scene is so bright. But lucky for us, there are awesome fans who not only made it look more readable, but they have shared to us the decrypted version too. So here is the result of Centofu's, Natonir's, and Ronnie's hard work. They are kinda poetic, like Shakespeare level of poetic. Well, in a nutshell, it seemed to be talking about a cherished friend who passed away, which could only refer to Teng Xiaoshi, right? And some parts which seem to be on repeats. It's unclear whether the production team did that intentionally or not, but my brain hurts too much now. Let's move on to the next part. Now, on this scene, which appears to be the duo's room inside the studio, we see a diary on the table. It's most likely Luke Wang's. This cursive writing isn't in English though. Actually, it's written in Latin. Ooh. So, if we use Google Translate on it, it would mean, "Until you love me, you will be adorned with poison, but you will be made evil." But, oh my god, I don't get it. Or maybe I accidentally put a typo on the Latin part. Anyway, fortunately, there are impressive fans like Sin who can read and understand Latin. So, here is the translation. "You're free of the association. Until now you have adorned yourself with poison, but you float on the ill advice she brings, but..." I still don't get it. I think it may be related to Luke Wang, like he's talking to himself in his diary. But I don't know. I'm going to stop thinking. But what about you? What do you think it could mean? Last but not the least, some fans have noticed that there are like particular letters on the credits which are in red color. You will find them here, and the last one is over here. If you put them together, it will spell out Savior, which is Liu Xiao's English name. Looks like they are hinting Liu Xiao's significance so much, but in secret. But why in red? Perhaps to hint that he is dangerous? Ooh, it will be cool if the later episodes will have either Vane's or Xiafei's names in red or in a different color instead. The geniuses behind the Link Click production team are so amazing, right? There are plenty of incredible fans as well, and I'm sure that you're one of them. The things I have mentioned in this video are a mix of what's already shared within the Link Click fan community and a bit of my own. If you have alternative decoding results, or translations, or interpretations, feel free to share them in the comments section. I wouldn't be surprised if I missed something. So, if there are other codes to crack, or other foreign languages to translate, or other references or symbolisms, of course, feel free to share about them too. I hope this video had somehow helped you learn something new, or had somehow made you inspired to explore new hobbies and interests. As usual, Clicking that like button will motivate me to create more link click content. Actually, this video is just a portion of another video. Of course, there is so much more to tell about this wonderful opening theme, as well as the ending theme. So, if you want to be notified of when the next video will be ready, then make sure to subscribe to the channel, okay? Thanks! And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again. Take care!